I changed it in Discord. I looked over and I was like, oh, wait a second. I forgot to change the main stuff. A little annoying. That's what I get running around all day. Just mentally out of it. Either way, fixed now. Again, to everyone popping in, we're going to get started here in a minute. We are streaming on Twitch as well as YouTube. Twitch does have music playing. YouTube is a bit more quiet. Is what it is. We got a lot of rubrics still to tear through. I'm almost done my second third of the army. So, yeah. Or rather, second third of the rubrics. This is sort of the Burgundy squad. And then we kick it into purple. Yeah, pink floaty skulls. I wonder if I can... I wanted a squad of, like, older-looking rubrics that were with it not wearing helmets. So this is my kind of interpretation on the magic dust they are built out of. How's everyone doing? I went to my local game store because they did release the Emperor's Children stuff like maybe 3 days before it was supposed to actually hit storefronts. And I wanted to check it out to see if I could get it early. Sadly, no. Might check again on Friday, though. Not so much the models, but I am looking for the codex because we need to possibly build a Chaos Knights list for this tournament. No, that kill team sold out in a minute. I wasn't necessarily planning on it. Literally, if Chaos Knights was not coming out, I might have gotten it. But with the Chaos Knights codex dropping, I had to make a call to like financially not just burden myself too much. So I decided to focus on the Chaos Knight stuff. Because there's a good chance I might need to buy one model. Like one of the larger knights. And I'm thinking it might end up being the Ruinator box, which is like $250. Because the Ruinator should come with the Abominant build as well as like another Desecrator. Another of like the melee variant. And I think that's kind of the path I want to go. No, yeah, it sold in like a minute. It was done. I think it sold out faster in the US than it did in the UK. Well, US/Canada. Have not. I know they were trying to adjust some stuff. They adjusted the Thaumaturge. I didn't see the new Kairos, although there needed to be something new, right? Because they changed how missions work. and the change made it so Kairos' ability didn't work anymore. So it was kind of like crappy. So he definitely needed a new profile. Wait, is he good at melee now? I love that all of the Thousand Suns monsters are just like, yeah, we're not really that great at melee. I feel like every army I've run into that has monsters in it, every monster is a powerhouse in melee. Like, they get into melee and you're just like, well, that squad's dead. And then Kairos and the Lords of Change walk in and they're like, we maybe kill 1, 2 little guys every now and then. But Lucavi definitely dominates us. The General Vampire Lord is gonna kill us. It's like, oh. This is bad. And the problem is their shooting isn't even comparable, which I get. You don't want something in AOS that shoots like Lucavi hits. That's insanity. Imagine something having Manfred's shooting or melee profile as it's ranged. It's like a squad and a half a turn. Yeah, the goal is still the same. The Lords of Change and Kairos are both meant to stand behind a wall of meat and just keep shooting stuff until it runs out of things. You kind of want them to get all-out attack. I think that works. You just, in the situation where one of them is next to a target that needs to die, you just go all-out attack. 3s and 3s, baby. Although, personally, I would save all-out attack for if you have, like, a big squad of flamers. If that's just so much more effective. Let me take a look. Because they would have posted it on the community page, right? Or I imagine it's got to be in the downloads. Faction pack. Where's my boys? Disciples of Tzeentch. Oh, okay. I get it. So what do we got? Pick one battle tactic card that is on your roster and discard it. Then, for the rest of the battle, replace it with a battle tactic card that is not on your roster. If the new battle tactic card requires either player to pick something, they must do so immediately. Start a turn. Combined total of victory points earned by both the discarded battle tactic cards and the new battle tactic cards is 15. So yeah, it just lets you shift. That's pretty cool, because shifting is definitely a strong concept to a different thing you have to do, especially if like the thing you're doing is no longer an option. When you make a casting roll for this unit, you can change lowest d6. Yep, that's still good. Still good. Wait a second. Oh yeah, this is the guy that does -1 to hit. This is the one that does +1 to cast. Invisible unit, and then this is the standard, the Rod of Sorcery, which one of my guys has, and then his is actually just really nice. I think originally they just wanted you to cast this with him. Like, they wanted you to cast some spell with him, and that was his only real range attack. Was just to be like, let me cast some spells. But this isn't bad. 4-3-1-1. Blah! Oh, what's up, Ohana? It's not bad. Sadly, I don't play enough AOS. There's only a couple people at the store that do, and I feel like the only times they're around is when I'm trying to plan and prep for 40k tournaments. So it's a little annoying. Not like them, but just like fate, right? Because I do enjoy playing AOS. But there have been several times where I've gone on my local community Discord and been like, anyone up for AOS, and then no one responds. Despite me knowing there's like 6 people at least who are interested, and then one person who is like, AOS is all I play. And then no one responds. And then like the one time any of them show up to be like, hey, who wants to play AOS? I have a tournament in 2 weeks in 40k. I don't want to play AOS until afterwards. Genuinely, the last thing I want to do is, you know, hyper focus on AOS rules and then immediately go from that into a 40k tournament. You can't shoot in melee, but you can shoot into melee, right? Or did they change that? Like, things in melee can't shoot unless they have close range fire, but nothing says that something from outside of melee can't shoot into melee. Or is there something? Because I know we've looked into it a few times. And genuinely, there's no, like, something in melee can't be a target. We can't seem to find that anywhere. Yeah. So that's always the trick. That's how Disciples of Tzeentch work. You put blue horrors up front. Or you put pink horrors as, like, a wave 2. And then you just open fire with your Lords of Change from behind or your Flamers. And wipe squad after squad after squad. And that's just how it works. Maybe you have a couple packs of Screamers roaming around doing missions. That's about it. And it's apparently an extremely strong tactic. That's why a lot of tournaments I actually ended up watching for AOS usually had a Disciple of Tzeentch player in the final 3. Like, seriously, I sat down here and I wrote a synergy list of demons for Disciples of Tzeentch, and I was like, this seems strong. And then immediately after started watching tournaments where the exact list I wrote down was what everyone was doing. It was just that immediate moment of like, oh, okay. But yeah, thanks for the raid, Ohana. Hopefully you had a good stream. Got some projects done. We're still tearing through my old Thousand Suns over here. Well, this weekend I was gonna run, probably continuing to run my mutant, the mutant herd. What is it? Mutant Cabal or whatever. It's the Zangor detachment. Because I feel like there's something there. I feel like I just need to retune my target acquisition. Because I just fought a NIDS player, which, it's been a little weird. This player keeps asking people what they're playing when they kind of like show up to the Discord. They pop in there like, wants to play a game tomorrow. And he'll usually come up and be like, yeah, I'll play. And then shortly after he'll be like, what army are you playing? What detachment? What rules? That way I can read them so it won't take so long. And I feel like he never tells you what he's playing. That's the crazy part. Like, that's where it gets weird. Because he has a few options of, like, Death Guard and NIDS and stuff that he can play. And I'm starting to think that he's just counter-building people in the store. Because he wants to. Like, he just wants to try it. Because he won't tell me what he's bringing. He won't tell anyone what he's bringing, but he'll always ask you what you're bringing. It gets a little weird. It's whatever, because, like, on one hand, I'm like, well, that's not a great way to learn to play. Is if you're just absolutely bringing the thing that heavily skews in your favor against your opponent. Because then you're just relying on the skew. You're not relying on your skill. Right? Whereas if you have the skew and the skill, like, that should just be a guaranteed 100-point game. And that's cool. And at least from my perspective, I'm like, whatever. Because, like, I'm going to have to fight things that skew hard into Warp Meld. That's just how it works. And if I can get decent at dealing with it, then it's cool. And it's like, whatever. The weird part is he's kind of not trying to hide that that's what he's doing. Like, the last game I played against him, I walked in, and he didn't say anything to me, so I thought, like, oh, maybe he's, you know, getting out of that habit. But then I walked in, he was like, oh, yeah, this guy told me all about your list. And I was like, what? The person who told him about it, I just went to a tournament with him. Like, we just played at a tournament together. And I guess he was asking. He was like, I'm playing this guy tomorrow. I wonder what his list is. And he got him to talk to him about, like, everything he's going to expect out of it. And then he was even like, oh, I heard all about it, so I decided to build this Tyrannid army specifically for it. And it's like, okay. The problem is I feel like I put too much emphasis on trying to kill the threats and not the scoring. Like, the killing threats, not the scoring threats. Because by the end of the game, I was looking at it, and I was like, man, if I killed those Gaunts, I had that side. But I expended everything humanly possible into trying to kill his 2 anti-tank NIDS, which absolutely sucked, because I got both of them down to 1 wound, and then they just lasted for like 2 more turns, because I just couldn't get to them. I couldn't put enough damage in. All my rolls went south, and it was like, oh man, that sucks. Meanwhile, he's got like 3 squads of Gaunts and like 3 mid-sized, like much easier to kill than the long-range super cannon NIDS that they have, like the ones that are like 2-shot D6 plus 6 damage or whatever. I just put so much emphasis on killing those 2 units that I gave up a lot of my firepower early, which eventually ended with him having too much stuff in mid when I didn't need to do that. There was so many moments where I was like, man, I really don't need to go here, that I just decided to for some reason. Yeah, he brought it into me because the mutant herd is like 3 MVBs. And I even talked to the guy about like removing certain things to replace them with Forge Fiends and Predators. Because that was honestly the way to go. And he was like, oh, that does sound really good. So I imagine he told that guy about it. Not knowing. Not like conniving, not scheming, but just like casual conversation. And there's still a lot of element to the mutant herd that makes me realize that I don't know enough about what to do with it, because I should be uppy downeying like a bit more depending on who my opponent is. I should be kind of focusing on scoring and reserving most of my tiny point units to score like easily and effectively while causing trades later. Because I gave up too much of my flanks. I gave up too much of my positions, and it's like, eh. Also, I do agree, I need more Zhang Enlightened with bows. I gotta rotate something out to replace them with 2 more full-size squads of Zhang Enlightened with bows. And at least 1 more Exalted Sorcerer. Because then you put the 2 Exalted squads in the corners, and you're just good. They just sit there. Anything that pops out, you just hose them with lethal hit, 2/2 damage. Like, it's so good. It's just so good. It's very scary for most armies to just leave people in those positions to get chipped down super fast. No, yeah, they are. I have 0 doubt that they go up in cost. That they don't go up in cost. Or that they do, rather. They have to. They're so key to your screening, and the damage output is so much scarier than you'd expect. Because, like, I'd put 4 or 5... I was doing, like, 4 or 6 wounds into big Tyranids. Into, like, big Tyranid monsters with just Zhang bows. It's freaking crazy. But yeah, at this point, I'm hoping my local store puts out the codex for Chaos Knights early, like they sometimes do. It might be in store on shelf on Friday. That'll be a big one. That way we can really sit here and get a list together. Because that would just be the stream. I'd pull out all my knights, and we would look at which ones I want to take as a list. Because I don't think I want to take a serious, like, multi-unit, small-scale army to a tournament like this with the 2.5 hour time limit on a 2K game. I think that's, like, a terrible way to approach this tournament. I'd much rather have the smaller, faster list. Make easier decisions, not have to move like 30 models around the field. Hell yeah, 6 big knights, man. It's gonna be huge. I'm debating, like, Of all the knights to purchase, I think I want to get the new box, not for that specific knight. Like I've been saying, I don't think it's that good of a knight necessarily, at least from a strategic standpoint. I'd much rather have more access to more stuff by just taking an abominant instead, which is going to be insanely cheap. But part of me wants to attempt a double tyrant list to see how well I can pull stuff off with it. Because double tyrant, depending on where you place stuff, I mean, you're practically giving your entire army benefit of cover at all times. Okay, back to caissons. Also, like 90% of the armies I play are uppy downy. And I feel like if a tyrant sits in middle and a tyrant sits at the far side, like your backline, you've basically shut down the entire board for uppy downy. And I think that's kind of cool. You mean the rules at the back? Or the crusade in general? Are you talking about their specific crusade rules? Or are you talking about how a crusade is supposed to work from the new book? Because I don't have the new book. My assumption is when we do the event, I want to say the person running it is going to tell us the general gist of how crusade rules work, so not everyone needs to buy the book. There's a chance he might even post the PDF of like important pages for everyone else on the Discord. Like if there's upgrades that everyone gets, including teams that don't have codexes yet, he might just post them up. So the caissons, I haven't really looked in the back of the book now. I figured the closer we got to actually running a local crusade, I would. Because I'm not going to lie, judging by how people talk about how local events are run from some of these local players, there is a very high chance we never play the crusade. He's been talking about it for a month now. He wanted the new crusade book to come out first before he started really looking into it. So it's out now. And he still hasn't talked to anyone about it. But he said on like 4 times now in the past couple weeks, like, oh yeah, I'm gonna try to get something together. It'll be like Escalation League meets Crusade. We'll start with combat patrol sized fights, blah blah blah. And it's like, all right, yeah. But we got to do it. You got to organize it. I think his biggest fear is that a lot of the people that sign up are going to be the people who can't really come in a lot. So whenever he has like an important fight scheduled between like 2 factions that maybe need to interact with each other for like story purposes or whatever, and then they just never get into the store, it's always something. And it's one of those things where it's always like something small. I once had a person cancel a game on me without telling me he was canceling a game on me because someone who was in like a local, I guess like more party area of this region called him and was like, yo, you want to come to a bar? Like that morning, he called him and was like, yo, you want to come to a bar? So the guy just went to the bar instead and just didn't say anything. And that's a lot of the people that go to this place have that vibe of like, I'll say I'm going to play, and then if something comes up, I'm not going to play. And if that something that comes up is like immediate, I'm not even going to tell you. I'm not going to be there. And it's like, dude, that is so obnoxious. As I'm just standing in the store with an army just like, huh. We get that a lot though, because it is a narrative thing, right? Like the whole thing about um, Crusades is there's narrative elements, so there's going to be people who feel kind of underdogish at times. The person running the event is going to provide certain rules in place to be like, hey, this is what's happening. Hopefully your army that's having an issue because of the underdog nature of where the story has you will be able to push through, and if you do, there's going to be some pretty good rewards, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, oh, yeah, that'd be really cool. But the last time he did it, it involved a person who, I think at the top of the game, the person had the biggest army list. And he warned him about this, by the way. Like, this was part of the conversation they had before starting this whole mission. And it was, okay, you get a ton of points to write a list. Everyone else is starting off with like small skirmishy armies. But what's going to happen is after the big event at the top of the game, there's going to be a sort of like a meteor strike. Like they bring down a colony on the planet and they just crash it into the world. And you're going to have to roll a ton of dice for every unit you have. And based on those rolls, you're going to lose a good percentage of your army. You might lose more, you might lose less. But you're going to become suddenly like a skirmish army. He talked him through that the whole way leading up to that first match, the first game, and the first part of the Crusade story. And the dude got like so pissed at how many squads he lost based on the rolls that he just quit. And his army was technically a key part of the story going forward. Since his army was there to like protect something, and the other armies were showing up to get that something. So now the army that was sent there to protect something is just gone. Because the guy was just annoyed. And it's like, dude. Yeah. They try to add little bits and pieces. They don't just follow the core book itself. They try to just filter in some fun things. Because there's a few people who go to this store who love writing. And when they hear about the gist of what happened during a story, like this hero defeated this army, or this person really stood up and, you know, defended this area and just wouldn't turn it over to an enemy. They hear those and then they go like, all right, cool. And, you know, a day later, there's a post in our local Discord that's the very well written, very well articulated, high-end kind of retelling of the moment. And, you know, it's cool. It's cool like that. So we like to have narrative moments more often than just like, oh yeah, just follow the rules, roll the dice the way they're supposed to be rolled. Instead, it's just like, yo, let's have some events happen. Yeah, it's cool. I think a lot of this is driven from kind of the history of narrative events from Games Workshop, though. Which is why they want it to feel like everyone has to be there doing this in sequence. Because if I remember correctly, the War for Armageddon was a map. Players get put into regions. You generate points. You can spend those points on like fortifications and upgrades to give you more points or to change like the way certain rolls occur in the overmap. And you kind of play like this big game of Risk. It's just a really big game of Risk. And then in between every round, if enemies come to face each other, that's how it works. And the War for Armageddon map was designed so that, like, the way the fronts worked was you kind of had to pick a front you wanted to deal with. And it just kept working out that players would just go against each other. Like, every mid-round was just always a fight between, like, a lot of different players. Kind of based on the judgment of the DM, or the GM, rather, I guess, at that point. So, like, you had to play the games in sequence. You had to do the thing. The GM had tools at his disposal to, like, shift stuff. Like, when I showed up late, and they were like, oh, yours army's going to be on a dropship. And you show up in this region to fight this Death Guard player for control of this area. I'm going to roll the dice to see where you land because he has a bunch of different armies in a bunch of different zones based on his point scoring. So, like, I landed in his core zone, like one of the key areas he had that had a lot of units in it. So there was no way I was winning because I was told to bring like 1,000 points and I landed in like a 2,500 point zone. But I killed his Greater Daemon or the Great Unclean One, rather. So, haha! Because death was permanent among your units. So every loss he incurred against me was going to be a problem later. He got the points for the victory, though, but still, it made him a much easier target for other enemies. Just because I killed some of his key assets. In the best way possible. Touch of Chaos. Must be used from melee range by a sorcerer who has it. Pass the psychic test. And then roll a d6. If that d6 either equals or beats the opponent's toughness or is a 6, depending on if the enemy's toughness is higher than a 6, that enemy player can make a invulnerable save. If the invulnerable save is not met, that model is immediately destroyed and replaced by a Chaos Spawn. Did that to his Greater Daemon. His Great Unclean One. Friggin' nuked it. Full dead, one go. So it's just so you run it like a sector. So it's just like a war going on in the sector, basically. And these armies just keep running into each other. That's not bad. It's got that that intergalactic brawl feel to it. Is there no opportunity for alliance, no opportunity for interaction? It's just the only war approach. Must kill opponent. So I might have time next month to really get back onto the videos. That's going to be a big thing. I'm going to want to start really churning videos out again. I've been wanting to for a month now, but I keep getting called by my parents who are back up from Florida to help them like move stuff around. I get home and I'm just burned out. Can't even focus. But I have it all written down. The plan is to do one big, quick overview video of all the Season 1 teams that I haven't talked about yet. We're going to try to go decently in depth with them, but probably not as in depth. 2 Poppy? Jesus. What'd you say about my dad? That was kind of my worry when he was going to start this this crusade up, was if the crusade started early enough, the Thousand Sons wouldn't have had their codex. At which point I'd be running basically like whatever, right? And then all of a sudden the codex comes out and it's like, well, okay, what do I do? I can turn it down. There you go. I am at the point with my collection, though, where if we do this event, I could actually ask if there's something that feels more narrative to run. Because I have all of it. A lot of people like running Grand Coven, because, I mean, it's Magic Index. You can still Magnus it. I am finding out, though, that a lot of the reasons those lists work is because of the terrain. And the terrain used isn't the US terrain. It's WTC terrain and UKTC terrain, which, as far as I can tell, is like, it's solved in a weird way. Like, people know exactly where Magnus needs to stand to not get attacked, and then if your opponent moves up to a specific building, he can move up, get vision on everyone in the building utilizing his wingtip with rules as written stuff, kill everyone in the building, and only be able to take shots from like a very small angle. Like, there's a lot of rules as written shenanigans he's good at on those types of boards, whereas in the GW terrain layouts that the US uses a lot, he's not as good. Like, he's good, but he's not like as good. Because Retribution on US terrain is just so much faster and easier. So much faster and easier. So it's like a little weird to me. Personally, I would kind of want to try the Grotmist detachment with Magnus. Because technically with all the cool new changes, there's like a lot of value there. The 6-inch deep strike for Terminators, the 9-inch for the rubrics, +1 to wound for spells is a lot more important now with the new types of spell casting. All the different spells all the characters get now. It really does feel like Grotmus was written for the Codex that we just didn't have at the time. I think when we're done this squad, we're going to do a little bit of a change of pace. I'm going to go grab my demons. We're going to go finish them up. Because they shouldn't take too long. Yeah, the lack of rubric synergy is weird. Although rubrics do the full rerolls of wounds. And that's kind of the trick, because you get +1 to wound on spells, and then the rubrics give full wound rerolls. So it's like better, because you don't get both in that build, I remember. You only get one or the other. So you're kind of not doing great in situations where, like, you don't own the area you're standing in. But if you do own the area you're standing in, you're getting the full wound rerolls and the +1 to wound, which is just nice. Still not the best. I imagine Coven is still just far superior because it still has Crystal, although Crystal was nerfed. The nerfed Crystal is probably reasonable, though. I consider it reasonable, at least. The ability to uppy downy from melee combat is kind of strong. And I think that's what they got rid of on the Crystal, if I'm not mistaken. Pretty solid though, because that means you can put it on a you put it on your Demon Prince with wings, and you got the double uppy downy assassin. But yeah, I'm thinking knights. Thinking knights for this tournament. The question is double tyrant. Do I go crazy and try to purchase a tyrant as soon as possible, and then try and go double tyrant? I love the idea of just shutting down uppy downy armies. And I know that's a vindication thing, or like a vengeful thing. I've played one too many uppy downy armies that have been the bane of my existence. And to just have the ability to be like, cool, you can downy within 6 inches and still charge. Guess what? You will be putting your character at full 12, and then I'm gonna volcano. I'm just gonna hit you with that volcano cannon. We'll see what happens. Right? Like, let's go. Give benefit of cover to all the war dogs, just making them slightly more durable. I'd be down to clown with that list. The NIDS list wasn't uppy downy. The NIDS list was I think Invasion Fleet. It's like the basic one. But he just filled it with monsters. But it's like Necron Hypercrypt with their uppy downy. I've fought so many Vanguard Space Marines with their uppy downy. Like, there's so many demon lists local to me where it's like all uppy downy. And I want the person playing that list to have to go like, I can't uppy downy. I want someone to think actively that their entire turn 1 through 4 game plan is now in the shitter. All because I have 2 units on the field that are now spread out and just absolutely preventing any form of deep strike to those areas. And I'm sort of hoping the detachment that gives me access to uppy downy is the one I want to use, because one of those tyrants will probably be the Harpoon and Flamer variant with double battle cannons instead of the frickin' Geist Strikes, the double Geist Strikes. And then I'm just gonna like uppy downy it to mid and be like, here we go. Turn 1, if I get opening, I'd be like, yeah, let's do it. Screw it. Let's go. Let's give this a shot. Mostly against armies that have uppy downy potential. Against regular stuff, you could just walk them around, use them sparingly. But yeah, that Nid army I fought, those anti-tanks for the back, I got one of them to 1 wound, like turn 1. I wiped one of them out, but at the cost of my Terminator. And again, this was me putting a lot of emphasis on killing specifically his anti-tanks, which means I left the Screamer Killer to run around, I left his Swarm Lord to run around, I left all of these things to just run around and be obnoxious on the field, when I could have just hyper-focused on them. I gave into my bloodlust. Turn 1, I got behind enemy lines, and I went, I'm not going to reshuffle this because I can get this. Because I had already uppy downied my Terminator with Zangors. And I was like, I can get this. This is awesome. When the reality is I should have just left his Norn alone. Which I did. I left his Norn alone. But then just shoved 2 Forge Fiends worth of plasma cannons and 1 Predator covered in las cannons down the throat of like the 5 monsters he had on the front line to take them all out as quickly as possible. And then I wouldn't have had to have cared. His army had enough shooting with the Swarm Lord and all that stuff that he had roaming around to be a genuine threat to my Zangor list. And I just was letting them do it when I really shouldn't have been letting them do it. I would have been completely fine with the big guy just like shooting 3 big shots into every single Zangor squad I had to try to kill them all. And I just resurrect him every turn and auto-see him on all the objectives. And it's like, you can't do anything to me, bro. Just stuck in my loop of needing to kill the threats before killing the scoring. I swear to God, I've had 2 games where my brain Rain Manned out and was like, yo, just kill his scoring units. And this will be easy. And then I do. And then it is just the easiest game I've ever played. And for some reason, I don't learn from that. Like, I just don't pick up the, like, yeah, let's keep doing that moment. Instead, I'm like, all right, next game. Oh, he has tanks. I have to go for the tanks. I'm not going to pay at all any attention to the cultists standing on the objectives. Let me go for his tanks. That's on me, though. One day it'll click and I'll actually, keep doing it. Because seriously, I just had to angle one of my MVBs to see any of his Gaunt squads. And then just blast attack the Gaunt squad to death. Would have been perfectly fine. Yeah, when I'm burned out, it's like the worst to try to pay attention to scoring units. And then I start hyper overthinking things in ways that are just absolutely negative to whether or not I'm going to win. Like when I played the Northeast number 2 Death Guard player at this one tournament, and he got kind of mad at me that I was leaving my cultists in my Rhino. But he hadn't... In my head, I was like, if I do this... And this was, of course, me being burned out. I was like, if you pull no prisoners, I've given you a target that's easy enough to get for no prisoners. Now, he wasn't playing tactical. His missions were engage on all fronts and cleanse, and for some reason I kept forgetting that. Like, I thought he was going to draw new cards at some point, but that was not the case. He built a list exclusively for engage on all fronts and cleanse. And by God, he was going to play that list. Just shove my entire army into a corner and call it a day. Just non-stop scoring on objectives, cleanse. And engage on all fronts. I don't know why it put me into him either. My first game was a victory by like 2 points. Straight up, just like 2 points. It was like 54 to 52. Like very low scoring game. And then my second game was a blowout almost. I think I was like 60 points to like 80. Against a Blood Angel player that he won the whole tournament. And then they put me into this guy who had apparently done really well in his first 2 rounds. And it's like, why am I fighting this guy? There were so many people that were there who had very similar records to me that were just like, nah, you're going to fight the dude who's going to wipe the floor with you. It's like, cool, thanks. Ugh. And this was this was me playing Soulforged with Vashdor pre the new upgrade. I cannot wait to play Vashdor with this upgrade to the point where I am actually thinking, instead of Knights, to just do my Vashdor list. Because +2 to strength for those tanks, oh my god. Those plasma cannons are just las cannons at that point. I convert my Vindicator to a demon and just give it +1 to wound and put it through walls and just wipe stuff out with it. Keep my tenting addendum near it. Like, ugh. Ugh, it's so gross. Now that I have the Vindicator, I can get rid of my Helldrake. Which means I have room for just, like, dumb little stuff. I have store credit at my local store, and I'm debating just using it on a new Predator so I can get a second Pred. I feel like Predators are very consistently, like, you need these, right? Like, they just feel hyper consistent in their benefits. They're very cheap. Relatively durable, and their damage output is really not cool. Or, like, really great for whatever you're doing. Almost every faction has a really cool Predator. The Chaos Space Marine autocannon Predator is just so good. It's spec'd to kill, like, Terminators. It is wildly powerful. For like 130 or something points. Case, yeah, no, that's the one I use. I use that in Warp Meld, the las cannon case on one. So there's two variants of the Warp Meld list that I've seen that seems to do very well in tournaments. You either go all in on the mutant list, which means you've got the 3 squads of Zangors with bows and stuff, and like you're just going ham with so many things, like all chaos spawn, full tilt, just tons of Zangors. Or you go the half and half. It's not really like half and half. Every single list does take 3 Mutalith Vortex Beasts because there's no reason not to. It's probably one of the strongest units for that detachment, just due to the rules and how they interact. But you can always take the variant with the las cannon Predator, because the las cannon Predator is really good on its own. Just like genuinely really good on its own. You can take a couple Forge Fiends with you because the suppression ability is nice, -1 to hit. And you sort of go some mutants and some tanks, and you're just fine. Because nothing feels better than shooting 3 MVB spit cannons at a single big monster. And then if it lives, shooting a las cannon Predator at it with like all the rerolls it gets. Reroll hits, reroll wounds from the twin linked on the main cannon. Reroll damage. Oh. Biggest nerf for K-Suns, though. That glamour aura on the Demon Prince on foot no longer working on anything that isn't infantry. It makes me so sad. Can't tell you how many people I've pissed off using that glamour aura on like vehicles and things. MVBs. Is it thundering out? Jesus. I thought it was going to be really cool going forward because a lot of the -1 to ballistic skill and weapon skill debuffs have started to get pulled out of the game just because they are really strong. I mean, that was a key element in Death Guard, just dominating. Not only would they get rid of your ballistic skill, but they would also lower it. It is the dude that painted a bunch of Necromunda Gene Stealers. Specifically for 40k. I rebased them. So they work as 40k Gene Stealers. I still have them over there. I see them every day in their little plastic container. I love Gene Stealer Cult. I really do. But I really don't want to play them in a tournament. Just too much thinking. Especially now with their new rules. Like, even after that codex dropped, there have been so many reiterations of their rules. It's quite crazy. This is what we get for having a world where there's like 4 players of that army who cannot lose. Everyone else that plays them just can't seem to win with them. And then there's just 4 guys who are like, nah, we just don't lose. We never lose with these armies. And it's like, we gotta figure out how to make them nerfed without screwing everyone over. Oh, nice. Jane Czar sounds like a character from Thundercats. Just saying. Ugh. Hopefully I don't think I have to buy a new knight before this tournament. I guess that leaves it open, though. If I look at the list that I have for my knights, and I'm like, oh, this doesn't work without this knight, and I need another big one or something, I'm just going to put in my Soulforged list. Call it a day. What's up, Kurt's Corner? All right, Paint. Oh, people just popping in saying hi and leaving. Oh, yeah. We're almost done the red ones. We got one guy left. And we're on to the purples. And we've got 20 Terminators to go. And we got 2 Helldrakes. I think 2 Terminator Sorcerer Lords. Which I don't like. I don't know if I want to do the other 2 Terminator Sorcerer Lords that I have. Just because they're the standard model, and I really don't like how the standard model looks. I kind of want to like grab a new one. Make yet another conversion that looks really cool. Red Squad looks nice. Red Squad definitely looks nice. I mean, this is the original color. This is the Horus Heresy color scheme. Gold and this like burgundy red. But with the fixing, like I'm fixing both. I don't mind the blue that I picked. I feel like the blue that I picked was perfect for what I was looking to do. These are a pack of $5 brushes from a local art store. They're not that good. They're synthetic. I feel the wear and tear on them if I've used them for like a month solid. But they're $5. And you get like 10 in the pack. And it's all different brush sizes. A lot of which are the exact size brushes I want. I really like long bristle. Like, this is a really long bristle. Really like long bristle miniature painting brushes. The brand is literally Hobby Creative Mark. Like, just $5. I pick one up every couple months. I've tried cleaning them too. Like, so one of the earliest containers of brushes I purchased, I feel like every time I used it, I would always use the pink stuff, brush cleaning gel, and, you know, like actually focus on that. I think it lasted like 4 months because of it, but it just felt like I was doing too much to try to keep it going when I could have just spent $5 more on it later. Yeah, Burgundy Squad's almost done. Most of the leadership is done, except 2 Terminator Sorcerer Lords. I think all my vehicles except the Helldrakes are done. Though I am debating picking up another Predator. Because Predators are just good. Thousand Sun Predators especially. No. Weirdly, I don't watch too much content for 40K on YouTube. I watch some. Is it the over policing of the lore stuff? Because I noticed there was a trend with people getting banned on YouTube from Games Workshop, but the way it was working is that they would do videos where a lot of the cinematography was done in Tabletop Simulator. And like that was an issue. Because there are still a lot of lore channels that seem to be chugging along. But those guys, and it's got to be hard, right? Like a lot of those guys use artwork from Games Workshop in their videos, which that's one of those like gray areas. Because now you're making money off of like someone else's artwork as your backdrop, and it's like, I don't know, man. I've always wondered though, because I know a lot of lore channels just straight up read from books, which is like, man, you should I don't know if you should piss the people off who are paying people to do like the audio books, and you're basically just reading the book that has an audio book to someone. Seems a little weird. This might attract some bad attention. I'd have to look into this person's content, though, to figure out what's going on. But yeah, content creation's scary. Ooh, see, that's the crazy part. So, like, what words? Because I've used like, I've said things like Astra Militarum and stuff, and I haven't been hit. So this feels weird, which isn't really not. It's pretty commonplace on YouTube. Technically, okay. Common occurrence on YouTube is something that's shitty, but it's a common practice for a lot of big companies. Basically, they approach a IP protection company. Well, those lore channels are very connected to Games Workshop without being directly connected. Most likely. Which is why a lot of them just get rules all the time. Like, years in advance, basically. Like, you just hear about things months before they happen through those channels. It's a controlled output of information. Yeah, content creation is a scary place when you're doing it for things that are like fan related, like Games Workshop stuff, let alone video games. Because almost anyone that puts out a video game like content thing, at any point the company behind that video game can just step forward and be like, nope. And it'd be over at that point. That's what Marvelous Studio did. Supposedly they're changing their opinion, but if you played Daemon X Machina on YouTube, mildly high chance that you were gonna get your shit shut down. I could see that. But that's also kind of the trick, because there is that one YouTuber whose entire shtick is, I'm going to tell you that everyone that makes board games is evil. Like, they constantly talk about D&D being horrible. They constantly talk about all that stuff being terrible. And supposedly they haven't been DMCA'd. So it's just one of those weird things. Where it sounds reasonable, but it's also not reasonable. There's kind of hits and misses all over the place with that kind of information. So he was doing lore stuff, and he was just getting struck down for doing lore stuff, or was he like negatively talking about the lore stuff? This is making me wonder if it is actually GW. Because like I was saying before... Ree, this is for a tourney called... It's like a small tourney within Too Many Games. It's a Rogue Trader tournament. It's in like 2 weeks. But this is the thing... So like I was saying before, what ends up happening is companies like Games Workshop approach IP protection companies. Because they don't have a big enough staff to be like, hey, let's go after... these people, right? Like, they don't have the staff to look into this kind of stuff. So they hire out an IP protection company. That IP protection company gets a little crazy. Like, they go overboard with the IP protection that they do. And the thing is, Games Workshop doesn't get this information from these companies. So that's kind of an intriguing concept to me, if that might be the case. If maybe Games Workshop hired an IP protection company thinking it would help. And now there's this company that's like just savagely going after anyone and anything that touches Games Workshop products. Because part of how that company gets paid is by actually doing stuff, right? Like, if they're not doing anything, if at any point Games Workshop's like, how many people did you get this week? And if they're like, no one was really doing anything bad, it's like, well, why do you keep paying that company then? But that is always a worry. I mean, especially with like what's happened recently with Wizards of the Coast trying to get to a position where they would be constantly getting money from any content creator that makes stuff using their IPs. Like, if you wanted to make a D&D show on YouTube, you would have to like your channel would just get like hit for every video that utilizes D&D, and a percentage of earnings would just be given immediately to the Wizards of the Coast side of things. Wog indeed. I mean, probably. Again, it might be the company that they hired. Because I don't think there's enough employees at Games Workshop proper to do most of this. It's got to be like a firm they hired. Oh, I mean, thank you. My painting's okay. I do rush it a little bit, though. Not aiming for perfection, just aiming for interesting from afar. Ah, crap. We'll have to see how it plays out, though. Because, like, on one hand, if that's happening, then that's out there. But on the other hand, you get things like Mountainside Tabletop writing articles for Warhammer community page, reviewing kill teams and stuff. And it's like, there's too much going on in too many directions to really have a grasp on it. So it's kind of one of those like weird things. Definitely be worried about it. Like, I'm certainly worried about it. It's why I try not to use the artwork from the Games Workshop IPs in my stuff. They got approached to do it, I guess. The team reviews for Typhon for a kill team, that was written by them. Okay. Well, the releases were all right. If you're gonna fall down the rabbit hole of the idea of people being shills versus something having a soul, there's a dangerous rabbit hole to go down. Because it's easy enough to view everything as horrible, because everything is. For decades now, pretty much anything related to joy has just been focused on the commodification of it. What is the best way to sell it at the best price, at a consistent way to earn money from everyone? Well, this is me. Autumn. I'm gonna go with autumn. This is me going back to my Thousand Suns I finished painting like a year ago and updating them. So I mean, you can always go back and update stuff, depending. Because if you start in a situation where like the models may be over primed or something, then it's like I don't know how much you can do. But with these guys, it was like, oh, I can just, get back in there with some layer paint. And we'll be good. That should be the last of the red ones, which means blue squad, red squad, done. I'm going to go grab my demons. Actually, I'm going to go grab the box. I'm going to put these in first. And then I'm going to go grab my burbs. And we're going to finish the burb armor. Because my burb armor does need to be updated. Yeah. Oh, that's not what I thought was going to be delivered. I have a tabletop stronghold box on the way. Actually, don't know if I'm going to have room in this box for all of this. But yeah, stuff like this depends. Because I remember I was hearing about a few people who were getting kind of like struck down. But most of the content those people put out are usually drastically ill-informed. Or they entirely exist to just belittle something without any real evidence. Which, yeah, I mean, that happens a lot. It's sort of just using fear to generate money for themselves. What army is my favorite? Still probably Thousand Suns. I love Thousand Suns. Just the adaptability of it. The oddity. I'm gonna go grab my burbs. The main thing I'm worried about with my content is there is a level of it where if at some point, like I don't feel like I should be able to necessarily just go over the rules for Thousand Suns. Like in a video where I just show all of the stuff, right? Where I'm just like, here's all the cards and everything, blah blah blah. Like, there's a reason why you gotta buy the book in order to get it, I guess. So like, that's why I kind of want to adjust my content to not be necessarily like rules overview content. It's fine with the season 1 through 3 teams and even the upcoming season teams for Kill Team because that's all publicly available. But things get a little hairy when you start hyper focusing. Let me back out the camera a little bit. Ugh. Need to get more slack from this HDMI cable. That's what's the problem. There we go. Fantasy or Age? Which one is it? Fantasy or Age of Sigmar? Now that those are kind of like two different things. Locally speaking, I don't know a lot of people who play Fantasy. I know a lot of people who buy Old World. Oh, okay, so Old World. Like Old World, when new stuff comes out for Old World, it sells out quite quickly. Locally, but like I have not seen anything. Which guy? This guy? Is this the Terminator? Terminator squad lead. That's why I think battle reports might end up being a good idea. It's kind of like a middle ground between me just like telling people the rules and then just showing people games. And do people play it? Because that's the thing. Like, it sold out pretty quick local to me in some stores. There's this one store near me, though. They're doing it to themselves, honestly. I noticed that they usually have a lot of stock from GW stuff in store. Some things sell, some things don't. They get new stuff in. But as a store, they've got this massive gaming back room that they only use for card games. They refuse to like organize events for 40K. Or even any GW thing. And it's not like some moral thing of like, oh, they're the big scary company. They do it because they don't want to store the terrain. And that's it. It's like, that's all. They just don't like storing terrain. Not that there's, you know, a ton of companies that do MDF terrain for cheap. Most of the mats can just be rolled up or put away, small scale. No. My Zangors are all bright, but yeah, when you start seeing my more like the Astartes models, that's when you get like the dark to bright, which is kind of cool. I do like it a bit. Thankfully, there's not a lot of armor color on this guy. Just that little back thing, it looks like. Oh, nice. All right, simple enough. This one will be a little bit more ridiculous, though. Let's see what we got. Get a little red on his dagger. Did I do the leg armor in the other one, or did I just leave it gold? Oh, I didn't. I did make it purple in some spots. Hang on. There we go. Oh, the overview of Thousand Suns. My approach to Thousand Suns is more like standard. I kind of go a little bit into it. I do a video about contrast over metal. This is like the next step. I was debating doing I went back to a 1-year-old army to update the paint job kind of situation. Thought that could probably be kind of worth it. Yeah, so this is red, 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 no purples. Kind of okay with that being that color. I could go over it with something else, but I kind of like how it looks. So mostly just reds here. The reality is all I'm doing is I'm just panel coloring. Nice. 4 more small nids or 4 more giant nids? This is sort of like the standard next step, though. Like normally when I'm working with contrast paint, I try to take it this way, where I do the contrast and then I bring a layer color back into it to just block it in. Oh yeah, big guys. Depending on your paint scheme approach, that could take you a bit. Just a little hint of red there. Ah. Well, wouldn't a tournament, having a fully painted army, be motivation enough? I mean, I'm basically done, depending on which direction I want to go. All my knights are updated. This basically updates demons, because these are pretty much the only demons that ever have armor on them. But I don't really like the Allied Demons detachment for Thousand Suns. I think it's probably one of the weakest detachments. It has like next to no synergy. Like even if it had a slight synergy, like how the World Eaters one, the World Eaters one sucks like 90% of the time. But that 1-inch deep strike potential is so powerful and interesting that literally makes that list work. But then I look at the Thousand Suns demon combo list. I don't see anything in there that makes it really all that interesting. Again, the only synergy I see in there is 3 full-size squads of Spear Zangor with Shaman, and then 3 full-size squads of Screamers. And that's it. Because so long as those 2 squads are near each other, the Screamers give the Zangor and Lighten 4+ invulnerable saves. And then that's 2 different types of units with 2 different types of mortal wound potential. The move over mortals and then the charge mortals. So the hope is that you're just mortaling things down using those 2 lists. Huck some Doom Bolts from the Shaman, you know. And that's pretty much it. It's the only list idea I have out of the Demons tree, and it's not that good. Like, that's not going to jail anything for long. Yeah, no, it's not a good list. The fact that Blue Horrors don't have OC, the fact that the only thing psychic on the demons list are these birds. Therefore, the birds are the only thing that can utilize the Cabals. Now, it could get weird if, let's say, the birds would be able to use the Cabals, like, regardless of whether they've been used. I don't think that was the case, though. If I remember correctly. Like, if I could just Doombolt from one of my Thousand Sun squads, and then all the birds could also Doombolt, because they are not restricted like the Thousand Suns to use Doombolt, then that's pretty cool. You could have, like, 2 birds near a Thousand Sun of some kind, and just, like, triple Doombolt things every turn. That, maybe. Grot tanks! Nice. But yeah, I literally see nothing in the demon combo tree. I wish I did. The amount of demons that I own. Dude, it is so hot. The AC is going ham. Alright, one more for armor. That's right, I own 3 birds. Before they legended the, what was it? The Soul Grinders. I actually was starting to really think of finishing this army out. Getting 2 more squads of Screamers and 2 Soul Grinders. Have the Soul Grinders uppy downy whenever the hell I feel like it. Then that got hard nerfed. And here we are. I own a bunch of Tzeentch demons, and I only want to use them in AOS. Which is fine. It's fine. Just gotta find a game. Dude, legending the Soul Grinder without giving a lot of factions an alternative that works, that was crazy. Like, Tzeentch doesn't have good anti-tank anymore outside of Screamers, and Screamers are not good anti-tank. They're like okay anti-tank at best. MVBs and Predator with las cannons and K-Suns are fantastic anti-tank and monster. Specifically in the detachment I use, but they're good in almost any detachment. Like, for the points, MVBs are fantastic midfield brawlers. You just have to know how to sort of stack bonuses and buffs. Terminator Sorcerer Lord, +1 to hit. The Predator, when shooting at vehicles that have been hit by psychic abilities, gets rerolls of hits and wounds. Well, hits and damage. Its main gun is twin linked, so that rerolls wounds. So all you need is a Terminator Sorcerer Lord to make the Predator hit on 2, reroll all of its hits. If it shoots at a monster or vehicle, reroll. That's where it rerolls all of its hits and damage, and then it's already rerolling all of its wounds. MVBs would hit on 2 at that situation, and then in the detachment I run with the mutants, you hit them with D3 mortals, feel no pain said mortals, and then you get +1 to wound. So you're hitting on 2s with a strength 18 attack. And if you feel the need, because whatever you're shooting at is over T10, to go +1 to wound on 2s, you can do that. And that's into like anything. That's not even anti-monster, anti-vehicle. And if you happen to roll a 6 on the MVB attack, which I do more often than I'd like to admit, that's dev wounds. D6 +6. I outright killed so many Tyranid monsters in like turn 5 with 2 of my MVBs that were still standing. It's just I got really bad rolls early, and I wasn't, again, like I was saying earlier in the stream, I was not focusing on the right models. I let too many models do too much work with the missions just by leaving them out there. And I could have just killed them. There were several moments where I could have just outright wiped a squad of Gaunts. The problem is, I only had one moment. Okay, this was terrible. I had one moment where I was like, this is the moment I kill the Gaunts, right? I sent my my Chaos Spawn into them to tie them up and kill them, hopefully. The Chaos Spawn max rolled the damage, so it was like 12, 13, 14, 15... It was like 16 attacks, hitting on 4s, so I was like, this is going to be a big filter. I didn't miss a single attack. I hit everything on a 4. So I was like, yeah, awesome. Wounding on 3s, I did not roll above a 2 for the entire wound roll. Just a metric ton of dice, no wounds. Wounding on 3s. It felt so bad because that squad was dead. Those things have enough AP on their attacks that it's like, that'll just kill the Gaunt squad. But that's on me, because I could have just shot them with any of my MVBs and wiped them out. Alright. Demon update pretty much finished. No, yeah, I kind of want to check it. I've been told several times that the Soul Grinder got legended. And I haven't double checked it yet. But the place that I went to for a tournament recently used to have a bunch of people that played demons explicitly because they had Soul Grinders. And they weren't playing demons last time. So my only assumption is that, yes, the Soul Grinder's gone. Oh, demon's done. $20 rubrics to go. It is 5 o'clock, though. I am getting a bit of a headache. We could do a chunk of them tomorrow. Let me double check, though. Again, these are the purple wing, so they will be purple. Specifically Gene Stealer purple. Their cloth is blue, though. So we're going to have to redo their cloth. I think we have to redo all the green stuff. Like the green lighting effect. Because I'm trying to brighten it up across all of my army. Oh yeah. With rivets, it's best to try to get like a really nice, small, dainty brush. And you have to like hyper accurately move across the surface so that you only hit the rivet and not the rest of the surface. I've done it a few times. It's been fun 0% of the times, so yeah, like this is what it is. Oh shit. Munitorian Field Manual? Imperial Armor Chaos Knights? Everything's coming out. Balanced data slate? Uh-oh. Let me look up Chaos Demons as well. So we got something to do before we go. Oh, making and gluing rivets. Which method are you using? I know the green stuff method where you try to make a bunch of really tiny dots and then like cut them in half. I thought there was a specific method using like glue as well that worked really well. Or maybe there was like something you could purchase that was like chipping, like plastic chipping, but it all comes in the shape of like a dome. So you can kind of get away with just gluing those two things. Can't remember. Alright, before we go. Yeah. Oh, hang on. Yeah. Soul Grinder. It's still here. Is it being legended? Is that like the plan? What, did it accidentally vanish off the list? Warp Gaze, which is still... The reason you take 2 of these is because this is your anti-tank in the Tzeentch list. This makes me want one. At least 2 would be nice. Because, like, this is good. And then you move over to this. This is crazy. And then you can even get extra attacks of even crazier. So, like, statistically, toughness 11, wounds 14. Like, this is a really good unit. 3+ save, 4+ invulnerable. I would purchase 2 of these for my Thousand Sons. But people kept telling me they were getting legended. which made me worry. But now I'm not seeing any info on them being legended, so I don't know what's going on. Whatever. Whatever. It's been confirmed, hang on, 7 months ago. They got removed from AOS. But no word on 40K. No, they're not in K-Suns. But I have a list in my head that works for the Scintillating Legion, the 1,000 Suns Grotmist detachment. This is kind of the issue because Games Workshop hasn't been forward about what's happening with any of that. They've just kind of been like, hey, it's fun. And you're like, no, please just tell me. I don't want to buy 2 Soul Grinders only to have all of the demons vanish from 40K. I don't think they are going to have that happen necessarily. But there is the chance that it does happen, right? Like, that's how things are with this kind of stuff. Soul Grinder. The Soul Grinder is $80. So $160 for 2 of them. I would still probably want Screamers as well. Although I think between the 2 birds, I would use the 2 Soul Grinders and all the Blue Horrors. Depending. Are Blue Horrors, did they change their statting here? Blue Horror. No, still OC1. Demons still have OC. The 1,000 Sun ones don't. Maybe this will change. But yeah, balanced data slate. This apparently got updated today. Right? 8. Yeah, this is today. Although the red, if there was red before, it's probably still part of this stuff. Because I feel like this was a change that made a bunch of Adeptus Sororitas players say like, oh, this is good. So I think these might just be holdovers. At which point, the only thing that really should have changed... Oh, this is actually massive for Scintillating Legion. I hated that this was 2 CP. This being 1 CP is God tier. That's nice. Yeah, these are the Bastor changes. So this is all just consistent. The thing I think would be different. Nope, no Emp Children. Any 1,000 Sun stuff? EQRS, T. Nope, 1,000 Sun still good. Which would mean the only thing that should be on here that might be different is Chaos Knights, which should probably now say no info. I feel like. Yep, there it is. This is the change. No info. I wonder if Chaos Knights got pulled from here as well. Guessing? This was another thing that came up recently as well. Was whether or not these guys are going to get legended soon. I hate this talk about legending. I get that it's worth keeping in mind, but I also hate it because I always feel like someone goes, will it be legended? And the next thing you know, it's just thousands of people just screaming in the streets, it's gonna be legended! And it, like, I don't know. Because I use this guy. I love this guy. Friendly War Dog. Still has sustained 1. This is Imp Armor, right? Yeah. Imperial Armor Chaos Knights got updated. Which means a few of them probably changed. Just in case. But all these rules look about the same? Or is this different? This feels different. Hang on. Yeah, I do hope that they either need to give 1,000 Suns better ways to generate command points, I guess I'll say. Because the only way to generate command points right now is to go the worst detachment, the Demon's detachment, and take Kairos. That's it. If you don't do that, you're screwed. Let me... Yep, it's different. I have my video up from when I made the Castigator. I have the stat card for the Lancer on it. This is the trick. I don't think I have the Castigator stat card. So we're looking at the Lancer. Looks like it's universal. Okay. Leadership, yep. OC, yep. 4+ invuln, yep. Castigator still has its 5, which kind of sucks, but the Lancer kept its 4. 3+ save. T, yep, just like I thought. Most people said toughnesses were getting lowered, but wounds were increasing, and then there was going to be that layer of feel no pain getting attached to it from some of the detachments, which is pretty good. So yeah, T11, so it's lower, but a couple extra wounds. Looks like this is the same. This is the same. 63602. Yep. 10 2 10 2 3 8 3 20 2 5. Yeah. So this is bulk the same. This feels pretty much the same. The 18 shots twin linked. I keep forgetting about twin linked on this. Twin linked is my least thought of ability. Because, like, strength 6, I was like, it's garbage. This is actually pretty good with strength 6. AP 2 damage, too. Like, surprisingly, this can get some tanks chipped down from 36-inch range. I hate that suppression only works on non-monster vehicles, though. I wish it worked on everything. It would have been so nice. But, yep, still sustained hits 1. So, cool there. Chaos Knights. 14. So there should be a bunch of points lowering. Yup. Just like we thought. Especially these guys. I kind of love this. I play Castigator. It just went down almost 100 points. Like, ugh. I think we're taking Knights to this tournament. I'm going to try to get the Codex on Friday if it's out early at the store. If not, I'll just grab it on Saturday. But this is so good. Tyrant down 40. I'm going to run a Tyrant and an Abominant. Bare minimum. I've tried running the Desecrator. But because of the stat changes on, like, the War Dogs, I think the Desecrator is not going to be anywhere near as useful as, like, a Tyrant sitting in back. No, yeah. I think the main one was Carnivore, because the Carnivore is still super good. The Huntsman, I thought, wasn't going to go down. I thought people said the Huntsman was going to stay the same. But it went down 10 points. Not a lot, but still. Brigand went down 5, which, for the nerf it took... or it's supposed to take, is I mean, it's still decent for 140, I guess. But it's supposed to be really short range now. Like, most people are talking about wanting to run Stalkers instead, because you can take the Gatling gun and the claw on the Stalker, and it just feels better. We'll have to see. We'll have to see the loadouts. Most of my stuff's magnetized, so it doesn't matter. Nothing else, right? No, like, sneaky Thousand Sun BS. Oh, okay. So Imperial Knights still have their old rules. Yes, like there's not a magic Imperial Knight book that's coming out literally the same day that no one was talking about. Because I'm not going to lie, this with their current rules and stats is horrifying. Or Chaos Demons balance, or no shifts there. Index. Oh, the index did get an update. Because there's no way you leave them on their current stats and lower their points as much as you're doing. Yep. There it is, baby. Not bad. It's not bad. It's decent. It's decent to do it across the board. I like it. Because I'm not... Dude, top of the month, first Saturday of the month, I did a tournament where 60% of the players were all playing Imperial Knights. The level of oppression. The level of like, let me roll 100 attacks into your one armiger. Oh, I didn't kill it. Oh my god. I hate it so much because like you're trying to score. Meanwhile, you're also trying to start to limit your opponent's ability to like harm you. And you just can't. Like, there's so many weird little situations of like, all right, I got a decent amount of anti-tank. Let's use it. And then you go through a whole round of like maximum potential redundancy anti-armor into like one Helverin, and it doesn't die. Because you're just like, all right, all these las cannons, like we're gonna get like 6 in on it. Oh man, I did like 5 wounds. Oh, you invulned all of it? Okay, I guess I'll, go to the next. Oh, you take like 4 wounds? Okay, and it feels like garbage. Being T9, though. Still great against infantry that's not really high strength. This improves strength 5, though, right? Like, strength 5 was an issue. Which, that should be... Ooh, Noise Marines are a lot better here now. I think, right? Noise Marines are basically heavy bolters. It's 5-2-2 or something. Oh. I'm not... Dude, I've wanted to... From Chaos Knight perspective, I've always wanted to run a double... Lance. The double... What is it? Not the Meltagun. I hate looking at this version because I can never remember who has the one I'm talking about. Whatever the Meltagun is. There's usually a guy that has like double Meltagun from the Chaos Knight perspective. I've always wanted to bring a knight with those in from reserves from the side of the field and just go, ha! And just like wipe something out. We roll so much damage, it's insane. What's that? You've got a Catan? Alright. Enjoy the Melta damage. Although Catans have good enough invulns that it probably won't matter. Oh yeah, here it is, thermal. Just to walk someone in off the side of the field with 2 thermal cannons. Just wipe something out. Melta 6, maximum 6, minimum 2 shots per. Oof. This is now awesome into other knights. Yeah. Strength 12. Just walk this thing off the side of the field. Have a decent shot at wiping out one large knight. I think Huntsmen are going to see a slight increase in Chaos Knights. Because you can reroll damages, I believe, on Huntsmen. It's either damages or wounds. Can't remember what they decided on. Nothing else though, right? No other sneakies. No sneaky snakes. Okay, good. There's a chance I'm just going to take a look tonight at all the Knights leaks and see if I can't craft an army before the codex drops. I'm thinking Castigator, which makes me kind of want to lean into Stalkers with autocannons. Brigands would still be a good option, I want to say. And then Tyrants, a Tyrant at the back, could be really cool. Ooh, Grot Tank. Oh my god, dude. Little Tonka tough nonsense. Perfect for Grots. Perfect. Okay. I do think we go Knights, though. 2.5 hour games, 2K points. They don't say... I kind of hate these guys when they do their missions. So far I've had 2 types of tournament managers, right? One tournament manager usually tells you the layout you're going to do and then the 3 missions for the entirety of the Rogue Trader tournament. That's awesome. And it's great because they usually give it to you up front. That way you can kind of look at it, factor in like, oh, I can build a list around the missions, right? Which is cool. I feel like it's cool when you're like, all right, I know the layout. I know everything about like what I should be focusing on here, and that's fantastic. Let's do that. These people 2 months ago posted this tournament up. All it says is it's going to be Pariah Nexus. So we're not even doing the new cards, which have been out for half a month now. Let me go take a look at it, see if they updated anything. Because I'm going to want to put my list in by Saturday, I think. 1 ticket remaining of 32 players. They had to increase the total amount of players because originally it was 20 and it was sold out in a day. Yep. 2,000 points, Pariah Nexus. That is all they say. There's no other information. No zones. And the last time I went, every table had 2 pieces of small terrain in both players' deployment zones. And that's it. It was just 2 tiny pieces of terrain. Every single time I played, I was playing my Thousand Suns back then, Index. I had Magnus. I had 3 squads of cultists. I think I had 2 rhinos. I had an Ahriman squad with a flamethrower rubric squad in it. And I want to say like one other thing. It was like 1,200 points. It wasn't a lot. And every single time I went up against Imperial Guard, the first one was using a Baneblade. The second one had a ton of those little tanks that have like plasma cannon sposons. And then a couple tanks that had like really big, I think, Vanquisher cannons or something on them. And they all got to go first. So my army had to withstand 1 whole round of Imperial Guard shooting without cover. Without the ability to hide anything for a turn. I beat the first guy by 1 point. And I lost to the second guy because I didn't have a single thing on the field by turn 2. Because he actually had enough multiple shooting that he was able to just kill all my stuff. The last round of the tournament, I was on a table that actually had a really big piece of terrain in the dead center of it. And he was playing Blood Angels, which meant I had to deal with the fact that he was going to get to me and I couldn't stop him. Which I almost beat him. I did 2 dumb things at the end that I recognize as dumb. But by that point, I was so burned out from sitting through an hour and a half of Imperial Guard shooting that, like, I just wanted out. I wanted to go back to my apartment, go to sleep. It was bad. So I'm thinking knights, because if they do that again, I want the best chance at surviving. And I honestly think whatever knight's detachment I'm going to take, it's probably going to be the one where I can choose one of the upgrades that occurs in the first turn. And if that's the case, it's always going to be -1 to hit from outside of 18-inch range. Because I know Goonhammer went over the Codex detachments, and one of them sounds really good, because you just double roll for your upgrades that you're going to take that turn, and then you pick one. So if you don't get the -1 to hit outside of 18, you can always choose it. And then whatever the hell you roll, you also get. So you start with like possibly 3 enhancements, which is really good. That's probably going to be the detachment that does really well going forward. But we'll see. Probably stream tomorrow. We got to work on these purple guys. Got 20 of them to go through. And then 20 Terminators. And then maybe next week you guys will experience me freaking out while I try to paint 2 Helldrakes. In this exact same fashion. I'm going to need a paper towel because I don't want to like rub too much of the gold off of the armor tips, because the undercarriage of it is painted. Which means I need to paint the entire undercarriage again of a Helldrake. I'm not interested in that, but I mean, if it's gonna update them, I'm gonna have to update them. It is what it is. I know my cultists are done. The cultists are only really useful in Soulforge, so that's fine. I've got so much to varnish. I think it stopped raining, which means I got to get out there and hit the box I have with some varnish. So Soul Grinders, not legended, like I kept getting told. They are temporarily out of stock, though. Not interested in... yeah, I'm not interested in purchasing them until I get absolute verification that they're not going to go away. Because I need them. I need them for scintillating to work. And if I don't have them, then oh well. So thanks for hanging out. Thanks for chilling. I am hungry. Maybe I'll get some videos out after next week. Been really busy these past couple weeks, so sorry about that. But we gotta, chug along. Till next time, guys. Later.